Humphrey. First on our radar this morning, persistent poverty amidst social interventions. This is according to Governor Sani as he criticizes Tinubu's numerous welfare programs, stressing that there is an urgent need to ensure these initiatives reach the vulnerable in the society. Well, these and more we'll focus on this morning.
Yes, these are more, and good morning and thanks for joining us. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Away from that, Serap threatens legal action against CBN over unlawful, unjust, unfair ATM fee hike, demands immediate reversal. Stay with us.
All right, and I'm Fina Okechukwu. Welcome to today's VOP this morning. Today is also the 17th day in the month of February. This month is gradually coming to an end. And those are the topic of conversation, the major topic of conversation today. But before we move on, we encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you've not done that. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, like X.com, the Facebook, the TikTok, Instagram, we are at VOP TV Live. Visit the website at www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. All right. Remember also with Voice of the People, we have more than a voice. So we have a number you see scrolling on your screen. All you have to do is do well to call the number. You can call us or send us a message via WhatsApp or 1 minute video of yourself reacting to any of the topic of conversation that tickles your fancy, because we want to get your opinion. And then we have other trending stories that kept the social media buzzing during the weekend. And one of them is that the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, I'm talking about Nnamdi Kanu, he declared that he would prefer to remain in detention for the rest of his life rather than be tried by a corrupt and biased court or judge. Also, in another development, the indigenous people of Biafra has accused Governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, of moves to buy off some ancestral lands of Ehamufu community in Isuzo local government area of the state and hand it over to Fulani residents for settlement. Ipob alleged that Governor Mba paid the sum of 30 billion naira to some leaders of Ehamufu community for them to release their communal lands for Fulani settlement. And this one, have sparked a lot of reaction. People are asking, why would that happen? Why would that be? Others are, talking about the people or the elders who allegedly have collected the 30 billion naira, for the ancestral land to be sold or to be given to Fulani's headsmen for them to settle there. Some are asking, for how long is this settlement going to last? Is there any legal binding for them to be able to stay there for a particular time? Is it on lease, or is it a way of telling them we've bought up this land, so you have to hand serve it? Well, just like I said earlier, let's know what you think about this.
Oh, well, starting off with the very first one. I mean, these are trending issues. Some Nigerians are talking about them. But starting off with a statement made by Nnamdi Kanu, it's a very serious statement. A very serious statement. That was contained in an open letter to Nigerians, giving reasons, basically just justifying his very recent reaction within the courtroom. Well, basically, what he's asking for is that an unbiased judge be placed over the case. And I don't think that's too much to ask. If he feels that Binta Nyako is biased and so cannot preside over his case, then a judge that probably is unbiased will preside, because he did say in that letter that there are judges that are not corrupt and unbiased. And those are the judges that, that he would like to preside over his case. So personally, I think that's not too much to ask. And staying in detention for the rest of his life, no, I don't think that will go well. Well, I think what the federal government has made of Nnamdi Kanu is make him some sort of Jomo Kenyatta, freedom fighter, and then. Well, if things turn out the way some Nigerians hope, he probably will come back and become a leader, and become a hero. Well, let's just pray and hope that things pan out very well for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Well, away from that to the allegation on Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State selling land, ancestral land, for 30, or paying 30 billion naira to those who own these ancestral lands to lease this land to Fulani headsmen. And then there's also a talk around, because they refused, they are now under attack. Certain parts of those communities, especially those that close to the bushes and the rest, the border communities, are under attack. Now that's an allegation coming from IPOB. Some will say, should anybody listen to IPOB? Well, that's a different conversation entirely. But personally, I think these allegations should be looked into. It shouldn't be taken with kid gloves. They should be looked into. And if the governor if there's any iota of truth found in it, then the proper authorities should address it. That's my take.
When you say that is more like an IPOB allegation, should we listen to IPOB? It reminded me of someone that sent a message during the day. We talked about the killings that happened in Ebonyi State, and that person made mention of this Ahamufu, community, saying that they're having issues with the Fulani headers there, And if, for example, like you rightly said, this particular one is happening in Enugu State, I think it's high time, the governor will come up to it. Addressing it is not about paying 30 billion naira to leaders of this community for their land to be, given to Fulani settlers. I could recall what happened some time ago in my hometown. Have this farm settlement, have this farmland, a very large, land where people do go to cultivate. And suddenly we had a new king that come up to say, we're taking over this land. We want to sell this land to prominent indigenous of the land. And people were like, you can't do that. This belongs to me. This, there was a big issue from there. Some people accepted for their own passion to be sold, while others said no, because they have some ancestral, commitment or kind of attachment to the land. So they did not want the land to be sold off by the king. Finally, the youth come up to say, no, we are not letting you take this land. So imagine you giving 30 billion naira to some elders or some leaders of a particular community for them to allow the ancestral home of the people to be sold off or to be given to Fulani settlers. And we need to have like pockets, a faction of people that wouldn't want that to happen. So if you want to buy them land, or if you think they need to have a place to stay, you can find a better way for this to happen. And also, they are nomadic in nature, so I give them settlement. Are you now saying that you want to go on with giving them a land for them to graze? They are doing their personal business, if you ask me. So if you ask me my own words, they should negotiate with the people themselves. You shouldn't wait in that, if that is what is happening in the Hamufu community.
All right. Let me start from the first one, which is Nnamdi Kanu. I'll start by saying that history, has a very long arc, and it naturally bends towards justice. Nnamdi Kanu is looking for justice, not just for himself, but for his oppressed people, marginalized people. He's a freedom fighter. Nobody can take that away from him. And according to him, he died long ago. So that there is practically nothing that the federal government or the Nigerian state will do, that will surprise him. Before he embarked on the journey, he was clearly prepared for that journey, and he's simply acting it out. What he's asking for, like Moses said, is not too much. Binta Anyako recused herself from that case, so why bring her back? And I keep saying that it's the federal government that looks, the federal government keeps on embarrassing itself with this Nnamdi Kanu case. If you bring an impartial arbiter outside Nigeria and you state the case of Nnamdi and that of the federal government, Nigerian state, it is very clear that Nnamdi has a case against the federal government. I mean, they have kept him without trial. A court has said release him, and they are still keeping him. So it's all about justice. You can't keep him incommunicado. At the end of the day, he's going to find justice. And he says, look, Binta cannot try me. And Nnamdi, being the man that he is, will not accept to be tried by Binta Anyako. So if the government is insisting on holding him without trial because of that, I think Nnamdi is ready for that. Like I said, he said he died long ago. Now, let me go to the issue of Mba paying 30 billion naira to some elders of a community in Amufu, to give their lands to Fulani men. There are questions to answer there. Where is the 30 billion naira coming from? Is it the Fulani men that gave the money to governor to give to the community, Or is the governor taking the money from the state coffers to pay community leaders? Is he buying the land? Or is he using his personal money to do that? So these are questions. But the Hamufu community has always been under attack for a very long time by headsmen, whether they are Fulani or whoever they are. But that community has been under attack for a very long time. So I'll be surprised that a sitting governor of a state will practically bring in settlers, to come and take over the land simply because he wants them to stop killing indigenes. I'll be surprised if Peter Mba does that. So I don't even want to think in that direction. We need the governor to come and say, look, this is not the situation. Let him tell us, is it Ruga? Is he trying to bring in Ruga from the back door and all of that? But it's a very dangerous thing. If at the end of the day, a community is settled there, a Fulani community is settled there, because whenever they come, historically, when they come, whether if it is lease 100 years or what, they never leave. Look at what is happening in Jos North and Jos South. Look at what is happening in parts of Benue. This is not the best time to test the resolve of the people. And it is good that IPOB has raised this alarm. The Igbo intelligentsia, the Southeast governors, the Igbo people should look into it, because it's more like conquest foretold happening before us. We shouldn't let it happen.
All right, away from that story, another trending story is that a former Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, has sued the state lawmakers, challenging his removal as a Speaker of the Assembly. It was reported that Obasa has filed a motion at the Ikeja Division of the State High Court, where he is also seeking an accelerated hearing of his suit. And I think it was on this table that someone made a statement as Obasa is gone. He's gone for good. You should forget about this. He's gone. People that brought him have actually asked him to leave. And later we heard about how a mandatory apology letter, was being written and how people were reacting to that. Also, the GA said as the governor's, I think, advisory council,
yes.
Have kind of divided into two. Moses, do you think that this issue of Mudashiru Obasa and Lagos State State Assembly is going to come down anytime soon? Do you think it's going to?
Well, I think it's just playing to the books, really. There will be some suits. There will be, a few here and there, and then he will be restored as the speaker.
He will now resign.
He will be restored as the speaker. Maybe after a while, maybe after this 2027. He will step aside and not return as speaker in 2027. He might just step aside. So I think it's just playing to the gallery, really. But we'll keep our eyes on it. The different factions, like you mentioned, Justice Movement and the other one. I think there are two of them. They are playing their it just shows that there is discordant tunes within the APC. Well, I understand that the president, who basically still stands as grand patron of APC Lagos, especially, knows exactly what he's doing. There was this talk around Mudashiru Obasa, basically standing up to the president, disagreeing with him on some terms, and that led to his removal. But we've seen, basically this is basically Chukwuma winning bets that we placed, but we've seen that he's been brought back. He was shielded by the DSS, brought back, lawmakers were brought in for questioning, and the rest. Things are just playing out in Lagos. But, well, like I said, it's just playing to the books. Very soon, there might be a court case, there may not be one, but he'll come back and then maybe step aside later.
Okay, Moses, I think what is happening clearly shows that there's a rift, there's a crack within the APC in Lagos State, as I have always said. And what they are doing is they are trying to manage the situation because they understand clearly that Obasa has the capacity to cause damage to the APC. If you don't rein him in on time, is going to cause problem for the APC. That is what they are managing. I raised the issue with someone who were sitting out, and so the person said, look, okay, looks like the assembly is now being recalcitrant, and they are trying to go against the president, the grand patron. So they are using another approach. Go to court, the court will restore Obasa, and another court will confirm it, and the thing might even get up to Supreme Court. So, but it's going to be accelerated, like Obasa is demanding. And when that happens, he will come back, just like Moses said, ahead of 2027. It's either he resigns on his own terms, or he serves out that term and doesn't come back. The First Lady was very clear that Agege in Lagos politics is very strategic. So they don't want to mess with Obasa or any of that thing that might, be a fallout of his removal from office. That is what they are trying to manage. But one thing is very certain. There is a crisis in Lagos APC, and they are trying to manage it by trying to rein him in. That's it, nothing more.
All right, then. Well, away from those trending stories, let's look at what the papers have for us this morning as we take newspaper headlines. Join us again.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning, and it's time for us to take a quick peep on the cover pages of the National Daily. And I would like to start out with the Punch newspaper today, and the banner headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper this morning reads, Telcom's tariff hike. FG deploys security agents as NLC insists on protest. Right after that story, protests will be hijacked by miscreants, says NSCDC spokesman. Subscribers oppose Labour's move. All right, beside the Punch newspaper masthead, we have a door to petition EFCC as panel alleges 96 billion naira fraud under Obaseki. That story proper is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. The window headlines are: OPEC foresees lower Dangote refinery petrol price. Borno missing children rise as Boko Haram steps up recruitment. Ensure fairness in deporting Nigerians, FG tells US. Okay, and we have other headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper today to be Alaafin Oyo Prince asks court to sack Owade. Dismembered girlfriend died from asthma. Kwara killer cleric. The story is on page 4 and 5. Let me take that again. Dismembered girlfriend died from asthma. That's from Kwara killer cleric. And the last but not the least of the headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper today is LG crisis. Adeleke Oyetola trade words. Labour suspends services. Those are the stories you'll find on the cover page of the Punch newspaper today.
Then the Daily Independent is up next with the banner headline, 2025 budget, 21.1 trillion naira fiscal deficit. Debt servicing burden may dwarf performance. We also have on top of the masthead, Nigeria rejects plan to split AU political affairs, peace, security department. Serap gives CBN 48 hours to withdraw ATM fee hike. And then you go further down, you have Tinubu urges joint maritime task force to boost Gulf of Guinea security. PDP dismisses allegations of forgery of primary election guidelines. Fundraising, Enugu Security Trust Fund rakes in 3 billion naira. APC sweeps Katsina LG polls. Angry youth set Ondo police station ablaze. Tension in Osun, a sacked LG chairman, councillors plan return to office. Osun NLC asks members to stay off their offices. And then the bottom strip there. WAEC releases November-December 2024 exam results. Records 53.64% pass. All right. These are the headlines from the Daily Independent.
Now let's touch on the Vanguard newspaper. Adebanjo, burial may hold in May. That's coming from her daughter. FG to engage 28,000 Nigerian health workers on USAID payroll. State of the nation, how politicians' weaponization of poverty hurts Nigeria. That's coming from Archbishop Lucius Ugoji. He used to be my bishop before he became the Archdiocese, the ecclesiastical province of Owerri. Anyway, now the big story, Trump's energy policy. FG's 19.6 trillion naira revenue target under threat. Diaspora remittances, forex budget will be impacted. I'll check that again. Diaspora remittances, forex budget will be impacted. That's coming from CPPE. U.S. oil impact over-dramatized. That's coming from Nasima. Economic diversification is the way out, coming from Adonri. And, okay, PDP, APC bicker over party's internal crisis. Will PDP recover from its leadership problems? Now, in 2027, Matawale blasts ex-SGF. Lawal says not solidly behind Tinubu. Youth raised police station in Ondo over alleged death of detainee. And in the world of sports, Chioma Ajunwa joins Japa train. There is also Mr. and Mrs. Just find time to go through what they are saying. And that's all from the Vanguard newspaper.
All right. We'll take News Direct very quickly before we wrap this up. From News Direct, we have LG crisis. Osun APC, Governor Adeleke fight dirty over appeal court ruling. I choose to alert nation before my people are killed. Adeleke blows hot. Illegal public holiday won't stop our chairman from resuming Osun APC as NLC directs workers to withdraw services in Osun LGs. And then we also have NCC, a toothless watchdog or a silent accomplice in telecom exploitation. That's an editorial. UBA Group donates $500,000 to boost Africa's peace security. Uncertainty in global oil prices threaten 2025 budget. CPPE wants defection influx. Kaduna governor welcomes ex-governor Yero, Shehu Sani, La Hunkuyi, others to APC. Tanker accidents, 60,000 capacity tankers not responsible. Warns against 300 billion naira investment losses. NATO. Okay. And, well, I think that's pretty much the headlines we have from the Nigerian News Direct. And that's all we can take for now. Well, now we go into the conversation. I would like for you to come along with us. Don't forget that the numbers are there for you to make good use of, to share your thoughts. And also drop your comments and thoughts on Facebook, on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube. That's where you're watching us from, of course. And we'd like for you to click on the subscription button. Now, as we get into the conversation, poverty persists despite palliative. Governor Sani queries the president's Tinubu's social interventions. Let's x-ray this when we come back. Join us again.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, Dissecting the news without fear or favor through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. People's Voice, Mondays through Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Well, thanks for staying with us. Welcome once again if you're just tuning in. Now, let's get into the conversation. Governor Sani of Kaduna State has criticized the increasing poverty levels in Nigeria, asserting that numerous social intervention programs have failed to make a real impact. Well, speaking during a visit by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Nentawe Yewada, he argued that these initiatives are not reaching the vulnerable as intended. Now, he's quoted as saying that despite various interventions, the poverty index in Nigeria continues to rise. This indicates that many of these programs are not benefiting their intended targets. Well, in another development, former governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, has criticized the administration of President Bola Tinubu, describing it as rudderless and lacking direction to lead Nigeria successfully. Well, we have joining us in the studio Barrister Darlington Agumo, and also we have Mr. Akin Fatunke, who is a communications consultant and also an economist. Well, we have virtually, we'll be joined by Prince Nixon Okwara, who joins us from our Port Harcourt studio. Well, and also from our Benin station, we have Comrade Ibrahim Momo, who would be joining the conversation much later in the day, just to let you know that those are the individuals that you'll be hearing from this morning. Well, welcome to the conversation, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Now, let me start off with you now, Mr. Fatunke. What is meant for the people, not getting to the people? And we've talked quite a lot about the social register, the social intervention programs. Money is being given to the people. Who are those that are getting these monies? You know, but now it seems like those at the helm of affairs are echoing the voices of the people, basically what the people have been saying. Is this because there is, discordant tunes within the corridors of power, or does this have something to do with, a realization that hunger is biting deeper than before?
Thank you very much, Moses, the crew. and my fellow analysts. Good morning, Nigerians. I back what Comrade, Governor Sani said wholesomely. And Comrade Sani is not saying anything new. It has always been the issue that the poverty index in Nigeria is growing in leaps and bounds. Sans policies to try and reposition, sans maybe you call it feeble attempt to plug the loopholes. It has always been there, and I think it came out, in my opinion, clear and very succinct without the coloration of politics. And people can now then begin to plug in politics when the poverty starts in Nigeria. What is the quantum of poverty we have today compared to poverty that we had yesterday? It definitely is going in, in quantifiable leaps. But at the same time, as an incisive analyst, like I said, shorn of politics and political connotation, which all politicians get into, I begin to ask specific questions. If you divide Nigeria into the sub-regions, wholesomely, coming down south, but it has always been the headquartered in the north because of the unbridled population that we had, out of school children, and the fact that I'll get to social intervention very shortly, okay, that the focus of the people that have governed those spaces have been the rankadede. Okay, I mean, that's, like I said, is also now coming down south in droves.
Okay, all right.
So how are we looking at the population control? How are we looking at I'm careful, one man, four wives. How are we looking at situations where underage children have been put into?
Interestingly, population control was taken into account before monies were disbursed to the vulnerable. These people have been tagged poorest of the poor. Now, isn't it concerning that Sani, who is making this statement, is also of the APC stock? And doesn't this point to the fact that things are, going there are separate ways within the APC? Should we be concerned? Really, should Nigerians, especially the people of Kaduna State, be worried that such a statement is coming? I mean, he did say that the president's initiatives are not working.
Okay, so two levels now. The social intervention, I will have tried to get into that. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. You said it in your opener. How many people are benefiting from this? Who are they? Is it not being politicized over time? Like I said, if you are increasing your out-of-school children, your population, the Almajiris in quantum leaps, and you are putting some little measure of whatever it is, why do you think it's going to get anywhere? It's not going to get anywhere now. So in specific pointer to your question, I'm afraid this has nothing to do with APC. There are many APC states, there are many APC people who go to the same market as people in PDP, as people in Labour Party, and people in all other parties. We must developmentally look at the situation of Nigeria and say things are not working the way they ought to work. However, at the same time, I am not going to cast it all out. Okay, maybe a little feeble attempt may be made at all levels, including some nationals, to try and see what they can do. But I tell you, it's going to be one step forward.
All right, thank you very much.
4 steps backwards.
Barrister Darlington, over to you now. Do you think the governor has, the moral right, really, to cast aspersions, as it were, and say, look, policies of blame the center, basically, that your policies are not working when he is in charge of the state, really.
Thank you, Moses. I've always heard that states are getting more money now. And so there should be no complaint and all that. That is an indictment on his own. When people dwell on lies for too long, one day truth will catch up with those lies. Why is he not complaining? I thought they said they are getting more money. The thing is that actually there is no poor Nigerian.
Pardon?
In reality, there is no poor Nigerian, Moses. Seriously. What we have is corruption. I was thinking the man will say that corruption is on the rise. Look, China is over a billion plus in population. America is over 300 million. Why is it that these people are not posting poverty capital of the world? You that is just over 200 million with all the resources you have, and you are complaining you are the capital of poverty in the whole world. Is that not an embarrassment on its own? Moses, I have told you here, 5 Nigerians can fund the money we need for infrastructure and to take care of these poor people up to any level they want to go to. Okay. That money is somewhere outside here. Is money outside here. Ask EFCC chairman, he will tell you. If you think I'm like, he said it himself last year. So why are you now complaining that you are poor? No, it is corruption that you are refused to tempt. If you tempt corruption, there will be no poor Nigerian. Okay. The money is there to take care of every Nigerian with the resources we have. So why is it every time poverty, poverty? They are now using it as a campaign slogan. Meanwhile, you are the cause. Imagine if corruption had been taken care of. All this money that Interpol is saying is leaving this country every 1 hour. Please, is that not money to take care of things? Please, is that not the money that you need to take care of things? So whenever people want to play on my intelligence, I will refuse to admit it.
All right, then. Thanks very much, Barrister Darlington. Please hold on to your line of thought because I'll still come back to you. There's a question I want to ask you. Let's go to Benin, where we have Alhaji Ibrahim Momo, who is a lecturer in the Department of Political Science, Ambrose Aley University in Ipob, standing by. Good morning, Mr. Ibrahim Momo. And good to have you on the show.
Good morning, my brother. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you.
All right, big one.
Just to clear, I'm not an allergy.
All right, big one.
I'm not an allergy yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's well taken. I've taken note of that. Now, you've heard what Mr. Obasani, the governor of Kaduna State, said. He said, look, social intervention programs, they are not reaching the people they are meant to reach. And looks like poverty is on the rise and all of that. I want your quick reaction to that fact, coming from an APC governor, who is now saying, look, Mr. President and the APC, our social intervention problems is not getting to the people they are meant for, the beneficiaries. And the fact that Edo State is an APC state, I would also like you, to let us get an understanding of how the social intervention programs have impacted on the people. Is it the same story like what we have in Kaduna, or is it different? Do you have an idea? Please, let's hear you.
Notice that poverty is not a partisan concept. Well, whether you vote for the APC or you vote against the APC or the PDP as it were, when you are poor, you are poor. You don't become rich because you voted APC or PDP. That's the first point to make. Secondly, is that it's also a fact that the political parties are more a mini society in the context that there are expectations that because there are people of diverse backgrounds to disagree on certain issues. The fact that they are from the same party does not correlate, does not add up that they must always agree. In fact, if they always agree, then one of them is useless. It is in thesis and antithesis, in an idea and a counter opinion. That's when we have a synthesis, a better or new concept. And that's just to put that one on the partisan level. Now, on the issue of poverty, in fact, I even wonder when people say that somebody in the studio was, a guest in the studio was actually alluding to this point, that there are no poor people in Nigeria. I want to take a little bit, I want to agree and disagree a little bit by saying that first, there's hardly any rich person in Nigeria. Not just that there are no poor people, because when you look at the global standard of poverty measurement, currently, according to the World Bank, the poverty line is $2.15 per day per individual. In Nigeria, how many Nigerians spend today $2.15 equivalent at the rate of 1,650 or thereabouts?
Don't you think?
Almost 3,500.
Don't you think that if corruption is nipped in the bud, that will handle that issue and Nigerians will earn better?
Exactly.
Yeah, corruption is the, like they say, the big elephant in the room. And it is also squarely within the purview of political office holders in the country and, of course, other public officials. Corruption is not mostly found among the hopoloi, the downtrodden. They don't have access. Maybe they have the potential to be corrupt. Maybe some of them have, but they do not have access to the public till, to commit these corrupt practices. It is even the president and his aides, the governors and their aides, and of course those in the legislative arm.
All right, Mr. Momo, Mr. Momo, my question is this. Can you help us understand the impact of these social intervention programs in Edo State? Like the first question I asked, is it different from what is happening in Kaduna State? I mean, if the monies have been given to the states by the federal government, what is the impact of that in Edo State? Do you feel it? Can you feel it? Do you know people that have benefited from those intervention programs in Edo State? Or is the story the same with that of Kaduna State? That's what I want to find out.
I will pivot with Edo. But the first point to make is that when we see these social intervention programs, particularly of this administration, the greatest challenge we are facing is even the social register. How was it generated? Was it, oftentimes what you see is that it's easy to generate a truly independent, a clean register. You could create a Google form, as basic as that. You create a Google form. Anybody who is out of job, anybody who is without a viable means of income, please fill the form, and then you can collect the data. When you do that, the CBN has what we call the bank verification number, the BVN. You could actually examine the profile of the individuals who have filled those forms to know if they're actually poor or not.
All right, now,
what does the government do?
Mr. Ibrahim Momo, for example, if you get to the north or some part of Nigeria, you find out that the poorest of the poor don't even have any business with a bank because they can't afford it. Some of them don't have a bank account to start with. And that turned out to be an issue. Now, the question I have to ask you is this. Some people have the opinion that there is no social handout to start with, like there's no palliative in place. For example, we asked a question sometime about the 15 million vulnerable Nigerians that are expected to receive cash transfers. We have first one that was rolled out, I think 75,000 naira, the one of 40,000, and a whole lot up until the point that Nigerians begin to ask if, for example, we know, according to the projection we have, that 13 million Nigerians, 133 million Nigerians, I beg your pardon, are moving further into poverty. I think in my region or in my area, I supposed to have one person who would have come up to say, yes, it's true, I got this palliative, I got this social intervention fund. But I haven't seen anybody, come up to say, yes, we benefited. Now, is it that the statements we see or the statements we get are more like a political influence statement or what? Because even that of the rice, recall there was a time we had an issue, how rice would be sold 40,000 to civil servants and all that. And we saw another memo, that were kind of dated that particular activity was halted even before it were to begin. Now, what do you have to say about that? Do we really have any social intervention, or is it more like a political statement?
Yeah, one of the things that is wrong with the current strategy on social intervention is the fact that we are throwing money at problems. You give somebody who does not have the skill on financial management from 5,000 or 40,000. I'm just saying that, assuming you're actually giving it out. How does that remove somebody from poverty? It does not. That's one. Secondly, the fact that who are the persons who are said to have benefited, this 13 million or 40 million or 103 million? Who are the persons who are receiving these handouts? How were their data gathered? How was their information gathered? One of the times, if anybody has benefited, it has to be an actual partisan or a lackey of a politician. Okay, in December of 2024, or of 2023, I should say, what happened was that the National Assembly members were gathering data of constituents who were poor. In fact, we were told that bags of rice, trailers of rice were given to 200 million naira was given to senators, 100 million naira was given to House of Rep members for purchase of rice for Christmas 2023. Sometime last year, the president announced on national television, in a national broadcast, that 20 trailers of rice are going to each of the states. The people who get these things, if actually they were given out, are at best lackeys or politicians. At worst case scenario is that even the politicians themselves hijack these social intervention schemes. We have seen situations whereby this rice, in fact, there was a big issue just before the elections in Edo, August 1 to 10 riots in Edo last year during the end bad governance protest, where a private warehouse of the then government, an official of the then government, was busted, and rice that were brought to the poor were being rebagged for sale in the market.
Oh yes.
So with this kind of even if the interventions were actually delivered, the fact that there are people who are ready to hijack public officials who have no need for them.
Well,
but
thank you
what
very
they
much.
do is that they hijack and then rebag and resell.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Ibrahim Momo. Well, thanks for your thoughts. You've actually raised very salient points here. Let me come back to you now, Mr. Fatunke. Now, with the points raised, we've talked about what government gave to the people that certain politicians chose to divert. And it's not the first time we are hearing things like this. One would have thought, really, that right after COVID-19 and the news around foodstuff donated by Kako COVID going into wrong hands and the people not even getting them, that government would have done better in terms of sharing things to the people. What do you think is wrong? Is it one of the points raised that partisanship comes to play when people talk about sharing palliative? Or what exactly could be the issue here? Why isn't this administration, like the previous administrations, getting it right?
And I will tell you, I started by telling you that I will not even want to manage what I cannot measure. Give me the whole of the moon and stars, and I'm not able to measure it. Even if, granted that it's not really, but even if I do my best and I've been able to affect just one person, like Fina says, been able to identify one person and I do it, close to about 1 million other people that are not going to benefit will tell you are doing nothing. And are you going to blame them that you are doing nothing? Methinks that the model of the social intervention that we have tried to copy, Bangladesh, perhaps parts of India, we have not honed it well enough. We do not have a data spec. We do not even have a feel of our population. Who are we? What is our demography? We don't have all that. And so what governments have just tried to do, and this is where the politics come in, okay, let's see if I'm trying to do something. Trader money during the Buhari's time, market money and all that. You do that very close to when you want to go and conduct elections. So for me, personally, it can be better than bad. I will. I will. It doesn't matter if you throw stones at me, as I know that my dear friend Mr. Okoro will want to throw a stone at me. I'm just pulling his legs. Yes. And that is the point I am making here. It's not working. Okay. And I don't have to try and prove that it's working. What I am going to therefore do, cry as much as you want to cry, it's not getting to the people. My social intervention will be something that I can put in the center of the world, center of the city, where virtually everybody can benefit from. I can look at my water system, I can look at my educational system, I can see a couple of things. Yes, okay. The poor, like Fina said, the poorest of the poor that cannot get, will still not get it. Life, I'm afraid, life is not going to be such that on day one, everybody is going to be equal. So we now then try and make sure we devolve down to which I guess, in my honest opinion, this present government is trying to do. Can we now find a way to now then get the local governments to do what they need to do, since they are poised to be able to do it better? So if it's not working, I stop it. Look at what look at the Better I Do example. For cleaners, for clarity, Better I Do, according to what we had, started a position of trying to align the social register. Align the social register. So in Oshodi, where are you? Where are you until almighty corruption, like my dear brother here says, now then took sway and then catapulted the whole thing. Right. We should go beyond politics and then look at it conclusively and say social intervention.
I'm going to throw a stone at you. I'm going to throw a stone at you, but before I do that, let me go to Port Harcourt, where we have Mr. Nixon Okwara standing by. Good morning, Nixon, and how are you this morning? Nixon, please, can you unmute yourself so that we can get your audio feed?
Good morning to you. How are you this morning?
Very well then. Okay, thanks for joining us. Now, let me come to you on this matter about social intervention. The governor of Kaduna State and Sani said, look, our social intervention programs seem to have failed us because they are not reaching the beneficiaries, people that it is actually meant for. What is your reaction, considering the fact that over time, during the time of the former humanitarian minister, even before that of Better Edu, that also ran into troubled waters. The other lady, I've forgotten her name on top of my head, but we also had problems. And the school feeding program for children and all of that, we have always had problems with those social intervention programs. What's your reaction? Should we even continue to put money into places that eventually end up in people's private pockets? Unfortunately, we are not able to hold these people to account. What's your reaction to all of this?
All right, thank you very much, my friend. As a matter of fact, I've been advocating this for a long time, that we need effective, scalable, and sustainable social intervention that works for Nigerians, because what we have had all this while, like you rightly explained, has not served the interests of the masses. So we are looking, if one should continue to talk about social intervention in this part of the world, we should look at a successful model that can actually touch the masses, the grassroots. We'll look at the community-based economic and social empowerment institutes or initiative that can actually reach to those that it is meant for. Let's, for instance, talk about now that we have a local government that is supposed to be functional. You just find out that the model we earlier had, or the intentions and the policies of Nigeria, like it has never been a problem of policy, but in most cases, the implementations. Because if we are not able to strengthen some of these institutions and make it less manipulative by some political actors, then that is when we start having results to some of these policies. But when you look at the cooperative society, the microfinance systems, and those zero interest loans, the farming system, when you talk about the unity banks, the people's banks in those days, and so many of those things, these were just some form of standard or best practice kind of social intervention, whereby you can look about something of getting the cooperatives, the people to have access to at the grassroots at the local government level. People should be able to go to the local government and register their cooperative like the law is already existing, have access to this. Sharing rice and trailer load or whatever does not actually intervene in the social aspect life of the people. But what we're looking at is kind of building skills, educational intervention, funding on agricultural intervention, single-digit loan, building opportunities for digital economies, and all the rest of them. There are some little startups that can get people into skilled work, internship, employment system that they can be self-employed and produce things. We can look at, there is a program we were introducing, we called it alteration. All right. When you look at that program, alteration, we just feel that some of these youth have grown a little bit beyond control. They have deviated from the society norms and values. What do? We need to alter them a little. So is the government programs on this social intervention altering the lives of those who are deviants in the society? That's the question. A social intervention that is not able to rechannel the energy of the youth, redirect their interests, and be able to build up their educational system, bringing up innovative hubs, ICT centers, startup incubators, and the rest of it all is certainly lacking merit and should not be talked about in this 21st century.
All right then. Thank you very much, Linton. I like the fact that you reeled out, all that this government, has tried to do. Previous governments have also tried to do the same thing. These things continue to fail. What do you think is the problem?
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
All right. The failure of some of these things that many governments, successive governments, have attempted to do some even better policies, or this present government is doing a lot of good policies like the national sovereignty, National Intervention Fund, the one headed by Detention and all the rest of it all. So the problem, like I said, is in implementation strategy. All right. Sometimes when you have a policy, as a government, as a person, as an organization, it is important to stick to your strategy, your vision of that policy. It requires some level of political willpower of those who are in charge to stick to these strategies. Reevaluate your strategies if it's going towards your vision. Then you check the institutional frameworks that support this. When I mean the institutional framework, we cannot have some of the Nigerian government agencies and the rest of the political MDAs and the rest of them that are supposed to carry on these government policies being handled or some kind of ruined by certain corrupt elements. So the president himself alone cannot do this job. You find out that the people, the leadership we get is a product of the same masses. Because one thing you find out that, I think there's this man that said his problem is using one hand to fight for the masses and using one hand to also wage war from the masses. So you find out that some of those who have that political willpower at the end of the day are either being blackmailed by the same people they are fighting for. So it is going to be a multi-strategy approach, one by the side of the government and the second from the people themselves.
All right, thank you so much, Prince Nixon. Now I want to ask you, because you know that you're member of the defunct 2023 APC Presidential Campaign Council, and what does this really portend for APC as a party, given the fact that Sani, in Kaduna State, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress, is pointing out these flaws. Recall that some time ago, someone who happens to be one of the members of past cabinet talked about how the present president is being shielded, that he doesn't even know what is happening. What does this really portend, and what would this do, or what would be the outcome of this, to your party as APC for the 2027 election?
I want to tell you something. The man shared his personal opinion, and he's entitled to it, as a matter of fact. Our problem in Nigeria is not about the party, okay? But it's always about either the personal or individual approach. We have come as a party with a very strong ideology, and the president, who is the leader of the party, is championing those ideologies And you can see that this is the first time in the country that we are attempting to do things differently with our economic policies and approach. Otherwise, in the successive governments, we have always done the same thing, and that's why we ended up with the same results. But unfortunately, that the man who is entitled to his opinion, from the point he's coming from, I'm not in Kanu, must be sure of what he knows and what he's saying. But it doesn't affect our party. It doesn't affect the vision. Even if he himself or one or two individuals out of 100 is not keen 100% to the party's ideology, then that doesn't rule out the party's vision. Right. You can see that, as a matter of fact, at earlier stage, you will not rule out the fact that even inside a party, you might still have those who are working against the party themselves. There are moles in every political system. So it is obvious that some people may just go ahead to do certain things contrary to the party ideology, just to go and malign the party and working against it for 2027. But I'm telling you that 2027 will be the easiest election for APC. Take my word to the bank. And for obvious reason, if you give me time, I can read them out for you.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Prince Nixon. We don't have that much time. We'll probably bring you on another show so that you can, do all of that. But let's continue examining. Barrister, you were shaking your head in disagreement. You don't think that the president has a strong foothold in the north coming towards 2027?
Let us not deceive ourselves. Why would you continue to do the same thing all over again and you want a better result? It's not possible. You can't give what you don't have.
Barrister, what do you mean by the same thing? This administration has done things differently, actually.
That is it. I thought you would have allowed him to give all those things. Because it was under APC that Nigeria became the poverty capital of the world. Throughout the 16 years of PDP, we never had it. I was thinking you would go there.
And you don't think that has anything to do with the world economy?
No, it can't be. It can't be. After all, other nations that are with us, how come the world economy did not affect them? It has to be under APC. I was just thinking you would have allowed him so that I can hear from him those things I don't know. That will make them to have easy ride in 2027. So what we are saying in essence is that when APC want to empower their own, they create all these sources of income for their members and call it one particular name and then mobilize funds. They know very well that that fund will not go to the target, but all the same, they will mobilize funds.
But Barrister,
yes, because that's what is going on with this SIP.
Barrister, we had Shopee under the PDP. How much did that do?
How successful was it? If it was not successful, I believe people would have known now.
Was it quite successful?
It was. That was why you never had a poverty capital of the world under PDP now. It was successful. I was thinking they should have learned a lesson from there. Or even call experts worldwide to come and tell them how these things are done. But they never do. Just because they want to give money for the boys and claim that it's for SIP. They have done it under Bete, it didn't work. Even the other woman, Sadia Farouk, she did not even appear before EFC to answer questions. Other than she returned some money. And that was the end of it. The rest is with her. They've started again. So what makes you think that this one it will not work? I have told you here, and that's a fact. Whenever they want to share money for their people, they create all these institutions and claim they are serving the poor.
But Barrister, meanwhile, if you say they are sharing money for their people, the governor who made this statement is an APC governor. What do you make of that?
He is not in charge of the SIP.
He's not.
Yes, he's not in charge. I am talking of the real reason why there is poverty, corruption. Most is corruption. Why is it that APC have refused to tackle corruption under their watch?
But Barrister Darlington, Governor Sani also received the 20, let's say 20 trucks of rice. That was,
kg.
So what happened to the rice?
Hold on, who told you that he received it?
But he didn't deny it. He didn't come up to say I did not receive it.
Oh, really? How many states received that, at least from Lagos here, how many states received that 20 trucks of rice that they talked about? That was last year.
Barrister, we don't have any governor that has come out to say, I did not receive.
Because they don't want to talk. Of course. Remember when they told us here that all the governments were giving 30 billion naira? It was only Makinde who came to say, no, we didn't receive any money.
So what do you think they're stopping from coming out this time around to talk about the rice?
Because it had been, look, hold on. you see, when you are in a particular environment and you have seen how things are going, there is no need of talking when propaganda is in the air. Allow them, the propaganda will fizzle out.
But
then the truth will come out.
They saw the rice that being rebarked. Also, I think in Kogi State also something like that also played out. These are rice that was supposed to be for people, for Nigerians who are poor, who are suffering, and it ended up in the hands of those who the rice were given to.
Why don't you look? I want to ask you a question. If you want to construct a building now, who do you give it to? Is it not a civil engineer? Because that is the one who is calling. He's an expert on that. But you want to construct a building, you go and call a mechanic to help you. What do you think will happen at the end of the day? So when these things are being done, why can't you call people who know how these things are done to do it? That's what I'm saying. Because it succeeded outside here. Some countries are doing this thing and they are succeeding. Please, what is wrong if you go there and say, this thing you people are doing, no? Please, how did you people do it? We want to implement the same thing in our country. Can you teach us? Fina, the man in Argentina now, you saw the wonders he's performing the other 2 years. If Tinubu go there and say, my colleague, yes, I want to better our economy and how you are doing so well. Please, can you let us know? How did you balance your budget after 135 years? I want to do the same thing in Nigeria. What is wrong with all those things?
Traveling and also Nigerians, you know, I also complain about his travels. He has been traveling. And also he made mention of how he needed help, you know, during the summit.
Let him do travel that benefit us, like this one I'm telling you now. If he travel to Argentina to go and copy that thing, will I complain?
What other call do you expect the president to make, given the fact that he accepted that Nigeria needed help during the summit at Brazil? He talked about how Nigerians can't even go to farm. And he made that call openly for everyone, for the other, you know, presidents in other countries to come to help.
They say heaven help those who help themselves. Have you helped yourself? You said they should help you and you're buying private jets.
Okay.
You said they should help you and you're living a flamboyant life, Abi.
Let's bring in.
You said they should help you and your money is living here every day and they're hearing all these things. Please.
Okay, Barrister, thank you very much. Mr. Fatuke, I would like to throw that stone now. In your first intervention, you said that you had a problem, looks like you have a problem with the population increase in the north, people who are procreating, you know, without measure and all of that.
And now all over.
Okay, and now all over. I always understood that population is an asset, especially a youthful population is an asset. Barrister mentioned India that is in excess of 1 billion people, you know, and over the past 30 or 40 years, they've been able to move 400 million people out of poverty, much more than Nigerian population. India is another example that Nnamdi Modi and the people before him have done so well. Now, the question is it the problem of people who are procreating, or is it the problem of government that is unable to convert this asset into a productive one? How much responsibility should the government take?
Chukuma, you know very well that water is life, and you know very well that water is an economic powerhouse. But you also know that flood has some element of water, and it has destructive tendencies. So there is a difference. When you are saying population is supposed to be a powerhouse, what is the quantum and quality of the population that you have? I said in my intervention, will you, in all honesty and in true conscience, say that we are giving birth to children like rats and rabbits and they end up on the streets as IDP? What is the quality of the education? What is the quality of health intervention? What is the quality of the cultural impetus that says to you that if you are a man and if you are a woman and you know you cannot afford it, you should not go and begin to now then say you want to marry for, and then some legislators will now say they are going to sponsor you to marry. We've gotten it all wrong. So, our population is not as effective as we should. Yes, you are also right. And again, I want to as much as possible not to go partisan, because my dear brother, while we are talking about it, it's APC, okay, PDP was better. We are not going to get anywhere if we keep on
Sorry,
politicizing
Mr.
things.
Before you get into the politics,
No. I'm not.
I want to ask a question. Whose responsibility is it to convert population into a productive asset? By building schools, by building hospitals, by creating initiatives, sending people to technical schools and all of that. Is it the responsibility of the individual, or is it the responsibility of government to make the environment conducive for the individuals to thrive?
Take responsibility? A very good question. Do you have governments?
So it comes back to the...
Do you have a... No, excuse me, please. Do you have a functional government that is backed by the kind of a constitution that is going to be people-centric? You see, we seem to be going round and round, and in my opinion, honest opinion, what we do in Nigeria is, okay, yeah, there's a problem. Social intervention. Let me go and look to everybody. Let me go and see. The other person now then comes in and says, look, let me find a way to do it better. Without tackling the root cause of the fact that we are a different... Again, I come back. We are a different people.
It comes back to the fact that government is not doing what it should do.
Government is not doing what it should do because they don't...
all
no, excuse me. Government is not doing what they should do because you and I put, according to us, put the kind of government according to the kind of constitution we have.
Some people will disagree with you in that regard.
Well, I don't know about some other people.
Well,
please...
Yeah, like I said.
I do not know about other people. We have a situation where you want to be straight in a rough jacket, and then you get scratched, and then you now come in this government. We do not have the wherewithal where we should all go back to the drawing board. Okay. And that's my point.
All right,
let's go back to the drawing board and rethink, refocus, rebalance, and tell ourselves the honest truth. And that is the thing.
Well, some people would say the people get the government that they deserve. But anyway, let's move this back to our Benin station now, where Comrade Ibrahim Momo is standing by. Comrade, I do understand that we might have to let you go very, very soon. Doctor, one more question for you, and we'll let you go shortly. Now, let's examine the complaints from Sani about the monies not making an impact. Well, we know that some monies have, exchanged hands in that regard. Let's examine, let's put that side by side with insecurity that has lingered in that region especially. How would you say administrations before it, and this particular administration, talking about the governor now of Kaduna State, should handle things differently and ensure that women who receive a chunk of these monies and traders and farmers have the ability to actually farm? Because if they receive money to buy farm implements, fertilizers, and they're unable to go to the farm, how then will the monies given to them or the resources given to them amount to anything good? Let's examine the insecurity aspect of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me first say that government does not have much of a responsibility. The basic responsibility of government is security. Now, when government is failing security-wise in protecting lives and properties, then that government is said to be failing, whether it is the current government or it is the past government. Secondly is that in the contemporary sense, it used to be, when security used to be about national security, regime security. But essentially today, security has two planks, two basic planks. It is human security, security of lives of the citizens, and food security. A country, a state in the political sense, we call it state, a state that cannot feed itself, cannot be said to be a real, will be said to be a weak, soft, dying state. A state that cannot feed, self-sufficiency in food production. So, and there are the 2 points the point you raised around the insecurity and then of course food security are intricately tied to the point that government on its own ought to be able to secure life and properties of its citizens, and it is failing. The previous government and this current government have failed in that regard, and so the reverberating effect, the implication of this is that no matter what the citizens on their own try to do, they cannot effectively cater, they cannot cater for their food security because they can't go to the farms. They can't even secure themselves because the bandits and the criminals, gangs all over are running roughshod over the people. So I think that essentially that governors in Nigeria writ large, not just the Kaduna State governors, they are very adept nowadays at complaining. They complain so much, and we give them so much excuse because everybody points fingers at the presidency. Whereas Nigeria is a federal state, whether we claim that it's an unstable federalism or it needs restructuring, Nigeria is a federal state. All our governors collect security votes. The minimum security vote a state governor collects in Nigeria is about 250 million naira monthly. And I'm aware that some governors take in excess of 2.5 billion monthly. I don't know the figure for Kaduna, but this money is not supposed to be money for the boys. It's not supposed to be money to be embezzled. It's also the money that is meant for security. That's what it's called, security vote. But if a governor is failing in providing security, and then they'll tell you one story that they control. It is the federal government that controls the security forces, that appoints commissioners and brigade commanders and the rest. If you have no role, no business security, why do you now collect security vote? So I am saying that our governors are not doing enough to secure the lives and properties of citizens within their states. And we are not also keen into the contemporary sense of security, which is about food security and human security. How can Kaduna, that has the headquarters, several military formations, Kaduna is so insecure? In fact, there was a time, I think 2 years ago, where a military base was attacked. A military base was attacked. So we are saying that governments, basically my point is that governments are failing and they need to rise up to the occasion. They collect security vote. That security vote should be a vote for security, to be used for security, and not for personal aggrandizement or for embezzlement, which is what it is today.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Comrade Ibrahim Momo. Well, I would consider that your concluding thoughts, as I do understand that we have to let you go at this time. Well, Comrade Ibrahim Momo, lecturer at the Department of Political Science, Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma. Well, thanks for joining us on the program. All right, then. Well, Barrister, let's bring it back to you now. Still on the issue of insecurity, and the governor, saying that the center is not doing enough. Does he have the moral right, seeing that he's chief security officer of that state? I ask this question again. I know we've touched on insecurity quite a lot. Does he have that moral right?
First, I want to correct an impression about security votes. If you go to Section 84 of our Constitution, go and check the remuneration of president and the likes. There is nothing like security vote there. This is a corrupt creation, just like this constituency project or whatever. These are the things that confuse the public. The security vote we are talking about is not meant for the governor to police the state. It is for his own personal use. Get it right, because you have the police, you have the army that have been overseen by the federal government. So does the governor have his own police? No, it is the same federal police that are supposed to take care of security in all the states, and then Nigerian army. So the security vote is not for the governor to be paying the police or whatever. No, he has his own personal use for those money. He has the people that do things for him here and there. That money is not for him to police the state or to pay police. Please, let us get it right. So that we don't continue to talk about security vote as if the governor is responsible for paying the police. As if he has his own army. He doesn't. That money is part of the perks of the office. Now, having said that, please, the question you and I should be asking the federal government, why do we have insecurity to the extent that they are becoming overwhelming? Because this thing about poverty, are you aware that this poverty you are talking about now, if you go to the root cause, it is because of this insecurity. The peasant farmer can no longer go to his farm, where he go to make out a living. So what do you think will happen at the end of the day? So we have seen the leprosy that is going on. We left it and we are talking of SIP. As if SIP will solve any problem. If you give a man a handout today, can you give him tomorrow? The answer is no. But if this man can be going to his farm on a daily basis, he can survive. That is how it used to be until these people brought in security in Nigeria. And they have refused to solve it. Which one is Are you not aware that some people went outside there to bring this insecurity? Is it a lie? Please, is it a lie that some people went to go and call terrorists into Nigeria? Okay. Don't you know their name?
All right, Barrister Darlington.
Have they not come out to tell us that yeah, they did it too?
Barrister Darlington,
they haven't told us what they did. So why is this as if I'm talking rubbish? We left the problem and we are talking another thing entirely.
Before we wrap up this segment of the show.
That's the problem. Let us solve the insecurity they created.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Darlington. Now, before we wrap up this segment of the show, on Saturday we lost one of Nigeria's best Nigerianists, Pa Ayo Adebanjo, at the age of 96. Our hearts go out to the families, to his immediate family and Nigerians in general, because he used to be one of our best. I described him as a Nigerianist. But before he died, he said something about federalism and restructuring, and he said, if Tinubu misses this opportunity, Nigeria is gone. He made this call before he died. Mr. Aki, I want you to respond to this. You've been talking about Nigeria not working. Do you think that we have a last opportunity in this government to make Nigeria work by going back to true federalism, by restructuring or regionalism? What's your quick reaction?
My quick reaction is first to agree with you that Pa Adebanjo, who died the same age with my father, 96, commiseration to the Nigerian state. He died a good politician, no doubt about that. And the jury will come out as we move on. Now, you said, Pa Adebanjo said that Bola Tinubu should, find a way to make sure he doesn't miss the votes. Clear, good statement, but political. And he's not been the first, he's not been the second. The patriots have always said that he was a part of them. And so to say Bola Tinubu should restructure Nigeria is a good roadmap. But do we have a road? Are we not a people? Do we not have a National Assembly? Are attempts not being made? Are we not seeing that attempts are being made and then there's a lot of struggle about the Nigerian nation? Yes, like I said, in all my intervention, the state, the Nigeria is not working. And we keep on just patching and patching. The truth of the matter is we all must come together. Find a way to, to do our government. Either you want to go back to the parliamentary or whatever it is, we must continually say we want to do that. Once you press that button, Pa Adebanjo is on his way to go and see his maker. He knows all the attempts that he has made. He knows all the attempts that have been made all this while. And we know sections of this country that said, no, it's not going to happen. You can't do it by fiat. We must all get together. Now, something is happening. Moses, something is happening that whether you want it or you don't want it, and that is the economy. Things have collapsed. And so to your tent, O Israel. So like Nebuchadnezzar, you have to hold the axe on one hand and perhaps the Bible on the other hand. All this talk that I see, people will come to analyze and we start on it. On the note, it is APC, it is PDP. This goes beyond APC party, beyond Labour. It goes beyond that. We must get to the root of telling ourselves the basic truth that the way Nigeria is structured is not going to take us to the next level. Pure and simple.
All right then. Well, let's go back thank you very much. Thank you very much for your
But the APC promised to restructure Nigeria.
Let's go back to Prince Nixon now. You know what they say? Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, really.
That wears a crown or that wears no crown.
Well, let's...
There's no crown.
Let's...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To you now, Prince Nixon, with this administration, like the administration before it, has used palliative to try and cushion the sufferings of the people. We've seen that play out over and over again. And some would say that that has been quite ineffective because it hasn't saved the people that it was meant to save in the first instance. Why do you think that the APC, especially this administration, continued in the line of giving palliatives, giving handouts? What do you think should have been done differently? Or do you think this is the way to go to save Nigeria? And let's have that with your concluding thoughts, because we're wrapping up this conversation now.
As a matter of fact, you find out that what I said before, that the people deserve the leadership they get. And most cases, the leaders in a country are the same products of the masses. So why do we continue to have the same approaches? Because of what the people need, what they commonly demand for, what are they looking after? Now, there has been this kind of approach in the country whereby what are those things like bags of rice and the rest of it all, they are the kind of things that the people masses are always rushing to. They have not been patient like the president of the president is doing now. If you look at all his approach, you just find out that he is not trying to please anybody, not even himself. He's trying to do the right things. He's giving us the right approach. The first time in the history of Nigeria, doing things differently. But people are not at home with that. People still believe in these low-hanging fruits that have not taken us anywhere. And what are these parts of the low-hanging fruits? It is just this kind of as the social interventions of giving food on the table and the rice approach. Now, what question you ask, if the president should consolidate on other policies which he has on the table, look at our GDP since it came in per capita, even like what you're saying on the other part, the United Kingdom has not even been able to do a lot since after their financial crisis in 2008. It keeps declining to even to 0.4. But Nigeria last year, the president is targeting about 6% something growth, so 7% growth. We have achieved 3 point something within the last 1 year in Nigeria. So when you rate it, you rate him high. That is a very big, significant movement. But the problem is that, are we patient enough to understand that any government that must succeed must plan or get a succession plan that will build on top of what he has achieved? That's where the problem lies.
All right. Then.
Nigerians don't have that patience.
Okay,
we have come to a point that
every
required. Nigerian just look at him.
All right, so patience is what is
I beg your pardon. Yes, we need patience with this government, because if you look at what he's doing, a lot of things he's doing, the financial, the economy, approach to resuscitation and the revival of the financial market.
We would like you to stay with us as we get into the next conversation. And this conversation we are having ties into the next one, because talking about interventions, talking about the policies of this administration, talking about delivering Nigerians out of hardship and Nigerians getting what it deserves, or the kind of leaders it deserves, Serap has taken the CBN to court now, asking that the CBN withdraws its unjust ATM fee. And Serap has given the CBN 48 hours to do that, all right, to withdraw the unjust ATM fee. Let's tie these conversations together and get some sort of understanding as we proceed on the program. So we'll take a little breather now. I would like you gentlemen to stay with us as we get into the next conversation. Join us again.
It's all right.
Well, thanks for joining us again. Now, the Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, 48-hour ultimatum to reverse its unlawful, unfair, and unjust ATM fee hike. Well, SERAP's open letter to CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso, dated February 15, 2025, demands the CBN to withdraw the controversial directive mandating a 100 naira fee for 20,000 naira withdrawal at non-branch ATMs and up to 500 naira at other locations. Now, this, of course, signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Uluwadare. The letter argues that the policy disproportionately affects low-income earners and increases poverty. Well, Sarah says that the CBN, or blasts the CBN for benefiting wealthy banks at the expense of the struggling Nigerian, calling the fee hike a violation of the Nigerian Constitution and international human rights commitments, according to Sarah. Failure to withdraw the policy will lead to legal action. All right, so I'm going to pick up from where we stopped, staying with you, of course, Prince Nixon. These policies, you've asked Nigerians to be patient, and some Nigerians will say, how much more patience do you want from us? Is it when we are all dead that with the policies of this administration, taxes are being reviewed higher? Even some would say importation levies are going up, and because of that, things cannot come in. Some say that it's good, some say that is bad. But talking about some of these taxes now, you understand, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of this ATM fee hike. 100 naira if it's not within, if it's ATM of other banks. 500 naira extra if it's in certain locations like the airports and certain areas. And POS operators have already, taken whatever they can take, and they are running with it. Like I said, sometime last week, I made a withdrawal of about 15,000 naira with 400 naira gone out of it already. So, and then we have the hike in the electricity tariff. We have a hike in telecommunication. Now, data, what 6,500 or 6,000 will get you before, will probably get you maybe 25 gigabytes of data on some network. Now, with that same amount, you're getting 15 gigabytes of data, and basically the economy now, Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians use social media to earn a living, either as content creators or, just doing one thing or the other. With everything going on, and this continued increase in levies and tariffs and the rest, how much more patience really do you want Nigerians to give this administration? Prince Nixon, that's for you, actually.
As a matter of fact, like I said something before, we cannot be doing the same thing all the time and expect a different results. And this is the first time in the Nigerian governance space that we are seeing a different approach to our economic, fixing our economy. One of the things you must understand is that to make any sector viable, okay, then you must make it profitable. Whether it is the electricity sector, whether it is in the banking sector, every investor is there to make profits. But when the policies of the government have so many reasons, so many approaches, and there's so many reasons why they make policies, and when we look at it from the angle of the effect of the policy on the masses, then you talk about the corruption we are talking about. We understand from the days of the past president Buhari, and Jonathan also explained that active approach in fighting corruption or anything, even if it's a security or insecurity, is not just the best approach, in the sense that you can't continue to arrest people and putting them in the cell, bringing gun and shooting people on the streets, and you tell yourself you're fighting corruption. But the proactive and preventive approach to security and to corruption is, just for instance, if you go to the churches, for instance, because you don't eat in the church, you can't find rats and cockroaches in the church. That is the same way it happens to life itself. When you make policies,
some will say corruption is not really taking place in the streets. It's taking place within the corridors of power, really, where individuals are signing off 90 billion naira and such amounts of money to themselves. That's the corruption we're talking about.
But that is the active corruption you're looking at, because these people, just like a lot of people will condemn the Nigerian police, the corruption and all that, because they are dealing with the masses. but you are not seeing what is happening in some other sectors that are not dealing with the masses. So we only talk about what we see, what is close to us. But when you look at the corruption in the financial system, in the sense that some of those policies that fuel these corruptions is what this president is. If you look at the way he's doing it, he's allowing the market forces, the labor forces, the policies to checkmate certain actions that fuel corruptions. Okay. Let me come back to what you were saying about the ATM policy. Let's take it like this. People are paying to the vendors, to some of the POS and the rest of it, certain amounts of money, and they are making money. But you know that some of these groups and the project, the SERAP, the labor associations, and many of them have become an agent of these cabals that are running these industries. Whenever you want to do anything on the fuel subsidy,
industry, or is it that the fact that Nigerians are the ones suffering most of this economic policies that you're talking about? For example, the telecom tariff hike you just mentioned, we know that the telecommunication, they generate wonderful revenue for the Nigerian government, as the case may be. We've also watched some banks, especially the First and Generation Bank, also declare the profits they made at the end of the year from Nigerians to start with. And yet, the federal government or government at large cannot think of a way to cut them some slack or give them tax biscuits. Why must everything fall back to the laps of Nigerians, average Nigerians, if I may ask? There are many other ways for them to enrich them. Must it be Nigerians that bear the brunt?
We're not saying, you see, when you talk about foreign direct investments in any country, you compare it internationally. If I'm going to bring in $1 billion into Nigeria, for instance, I'm an investor, I have my money, and within 4 months, my profit margin, irrespective of the government incentives, tax incentives, or whatever it is, my profit margin will be made 13%. And I'm looking at it, if I take this same amount of money to Australia, to Cyprus, to some of the countries, and I'm going to be netting 35 to 40%, why would I come to Nigeria? Okay. That is why I said the viability of every sector in any developing economy is subject to its profitability.
All right.
Now, it takes the government of the day to make such policies that can attract the FDI.
Okay.
Now,
all right. Nixon, yes, I get your point. I get your point. Let me stay with you. Moses said that, and I agree with him, that this topic is more like a continuation of the previous one. And during your first intervention, you said that this government has learned to do things differently because you cannot be doing the same thing all the time and expect to have a different result. Now, this government has started doing things differently, and one of the things they are doing differently is to expand the tax net, including now people having to pay 100 naira per withdrawal of 20,000 naira in the banks, and these monies go back to the CBN. If I'm wrong, correct me. Now, that said, we also have this government generating more money through taxes, more money by removal of subsidy in petroleum, in electricity, in telco, and all of that. You can say that the telco is a private thing, but generally, we have tax net being expanded, not just to bring in more people, but Nigerians are paying way higher than they used to pay. You said that the economy is growing at 3% or what, down from 6% to 1.5%, but now it's likely to grow at 3-point-something%. Nixon, in all of this, for the past 2 years, Nigerians have become poorer than they were 8 years ago. What is your explanation for that? Do you have any?
Okay, that is where I have to tell you something. You see, Nigerians might be experiencing some hardship today.
No, it's not a might. They are actually experiencing. It's not might be.
Exactly.
They are worse off than they were before.
One thing you must understand is that since 1999, we have been fixing dollar rates. We have been paying subsidy. And all this money that we've been paying was only fueling corruption and putting this money in private pockets. The ATM charges that people are paying, and you can go to the whole ATM points, you can't see any cash. But when you go to the POS, and some of these people will see those cash at the streets, this same money is going back to the pockets of the people that are running the system. Who wouldn't want these policies to come? Now, somebody has come up with a policy to stabilize all these things. If this money is even getting back to the CBN or getting back to the government has a way of giving back to the people. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at the state first, like what it is. We are feeling it. We are seeing it. But it's a better way to go. We are looking at that in the next 2 years. All of us to start seeing
Okay.
the positive aspect of all these policies,
All right.
Nigerians will start expecting, because when we are being taxed and it's on record that this money is coming in, it is easier for government to budget and spend from it. This is the year we have the lowest borrowing.
All right,
since the
Prince
past,
Nixon. I also understand that you know that in Nigeria, as the case may be, Nigerians provide everything for themselves, including that which the government is expected to provide. Now, Barrister Darlington, let me come to you now. With this 48 hours ultimatum being given by Serap, it's not the first time they're coming up to talk. They also talked about the telco tariff hike and a whole lot. Now, what are we expect? What are we going to see in next 48 hours if this the 100 naira or the 500 naira, as the case may be, is not being reversed?
Fina, nothing will come out of it. I am telling you for free, nothing will come out. The government will not reverse anything because they are, a drowning man catches as a straw. When somebody is sinking, he will look for something to grab. All these permutations in our financial policies and all that, government is trying to stem inflation, which they created. You see all this money they are trying to grab here and there. They want to reduce the amount of money in circulation, which is fueling inflation. Nothing else.
Barrister, what will you say to
2 or 3 weeks
not
now,
amount to anything?
Yes?
We can recall that there was a time the central bank also brought out a circular talking about how much Nigerians will pay now for them to do online banking, e-banking and all that. And Nigerians come up to talk about it and it kind of removed. So are you not saying that with this order by Serap and how Nigerians are talking about this money, that is not going to amount to anything?
No, when they change any policy you cried about, go and check. They are going to put it somewhere else. They will reverse it and put it somewhere else. They will never let go because that's what they are fighting. You saw this permutation from CBN. They want to stem inflation. Quote me. That is the only thing they are fighting for now. They are looking for a way to remove, in fact, they want to clear the amount of money in circulation so that there will not be too much money that will be chasing few goods. That's what is fueling inflation. So when they told you we are going to bring inflation to 15%, that's what they are trying to do now. By dealing with you in a very crude manner. That's what is going to happen. So they are not going to reverse anything. Because if they do, it will not add to what they are planning to do already. Now, let me ask you, if the ATM in your bank and the ATM in another bank are paying the same amount, what will happen? And if the POS is paying the same amount, what will happen? Tell me, what just happened? That's my question. What is the difference? All this differentiation you are doing here and there, to whose benefit? In fact, they don't even have any monitoring mechanism to monitor whether this thing is being complied with. They don't have. Remember when they said if you now go and withdraw from ATM, you have been charging 60 naira. I think, yes, 60 naira, depending on the amount you are going to withdraw. All of a sudden, that policy died, natural death. The banks were smiling to CBN and all to go and deposit some of their loot from us. So, what happened to that policy? Who benefited from it? Did they tell you? The answer is no. So, all these financial implications that these people are trying to cause for you and I, they won't even know until later. Somebody telling me now that in 2 years, we start seeing the benefit. Are you serious? What if all of us die before 2 years? They told us the same thing under Buhari. Moses, is that not true? For Buhari's 80, they were telling us, don't worry, this thing you are suffering under Buhari, it will soon yield fruit. That's what pains me so much.
All right.
The people that told us this thing, where are they now? Why can't they come and defend what Buhari did to us?
All right.
They cannot. They have started with Tinubu in the same way, the same thing. The same way, the same thing. They remove subsidy. Please, Moses, were you not here when Tinubu told us that if we remove subsidy, it will be paradise for everybody? That the poor will benefit from it. Is that not true? Please, can somebody tell me how the poor are benefiting from subsidy today?
Well, Barrister,
somebody should come and tell me all these things now so that we cannot take them serious. That the poor will benefit from subsidy.
Well, Barrister, you know what they say? They say to destroy is easy, to build takes time.
But I am talking of what he promised us just yesterday.
Yes, so don't you think it's taking time?
Where is the benefit to the poor? Where is it? Where is it? The electricity, where is the benefit? That even people living in the world, they have put them in band A.
All right then. Barrister, because of time, we have to touch on Benin Station, where we have Alhaji Ahmed Evahare, who is standing by. Now, I would like you to react. I know you've been following the conversations. I would just like you to react in 2 minutes And then we'd like you also to stay with us as we get into newspaper review. But for this conversation, do react in a few minutes. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moses, and I want to greet the panelists there. Nice seeing you guys again. I've listened to both of them. In fact, it beats my imagination that the bourgeois are trying to catch out from the low-income earners. I was using the commercial banks before. Later, I changed to OPay. And since I've been using OPay, I began to wonder, the services this OPay are rendering, why can't these multinational or commercial banks render these services? And this OPay render is similar services, low charges, and at the end of the day, you benefit more. But from these commercial banks, they charge you high, and yet they still cannot provide the services that this OPay is providing. So coming back to your question, you now discover that they are just trying to make life more difficult for the poor, especially these multinationals, the bourgeois. They are trying to make life more difficult for the poor. The idea of bringing it 100 naira per 20,000 naira charges, is it going to affect a big man? The big man will not go and withdraw 20,000 naira. He will just do his transfer at lodge, and at the end of the day, he'll be at ease. But the talakawas who needed this thing to do one or two buying, to buy a car and to buy a camo, and at the end of the day, you are putting more pressures on them. So to me, I am 100% in support of syrup. Honestly, they should reverse these deadly policies that are causing more harm to the poor. They are not helping the poor. The poor have a larger percentage as far as Nigeria is concerned. Those days, we usually have the rich, the middle class, and the poor. But right now, we only have the poor and the middle and the rich. And the poor, the population of the poor, in fact, cannot be commensurate to the level of the rich. So please, I am 100% in support of syrup. They show these deadly policies so that the poor can breathe. The president promised us they allow the poor to breathe when he was, campaigning. But as we speak right now, the poor are no longer breathing. The poor are finding it difficult to survive. While the rich men are the ones cashing out from almost every policies that they are making. In developed world, the rich are more taxed than the poor. But right now, as it stands right now, the poor are being more taxed now than the rich. So how do you not justify this kind of injustice that is being meted on the poor? We agree that, yes, it takes time to build. How are we now building, continue building, and at the end of the day, the poor keep on suffering?
Thank you very
so
much.
it's a big question that my people should answer.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Ahmed Evakere. Do stay with us as we get into newspaper review after VOP this morning show. But let me come to, we are taking concluding thoughts now. Let me come to you, Mr. Fatunke. You've been giving thumbs up to, some of the conversations, some of the points raised so far. But as you give us your concluding thoughts, I want to put out a question there. You may respond, and others may respond as well. Talking about alleviating poverty, saving Nigerians, the 70,000 naira and other things, other amounts of money given. And now with the CBN policy, where if you use, for every 20,000 naira, let's just assume you use a bank's ATM, for every 20,000 naira, 100 naira. So out of 70,000 naira, minimum wage, basically, you take 20, that's 60, that's 300 gone already, which reduces what is left on the other 10, which basically reduces. And then if you choose to do transfers, it's even worse because certain amount, 50,000 naira is deducted, and then card, the maintenance, and those other things. So anyway, what do you really think these policies are here to save Nigerians, to alleviate sufferings of the people? As you give us your concluding thoughts in 1 minute.
Okay, concluding thoughts in 1 minute, I won't be able to
I understand.
However, for the very first time since I've been coming to do analysis on VOP, I want to congratulate this station openly. I was doing thumbs up to Mr. Clinton Okwara. Nixon Okwara. Nixon, I hope you are still listening. The truth.
Because his thoughts align with yours, of course.
Hard truth, like back pains.
Birds of the same feather.
Please, I'm on the floor. Okay. And will not be taken. And like I always say, because of political leaning.
But you have
I am so happy. I am so happy. Because I've aligned with what he's saying.
All right, then.
He's talking developmental economics.
All right, then. Since you've aligned, let's just go back to
I give
Prince
a
Nixon
thumbs up to this gentleman. I hope I'll be able to meet him one of these days.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Now-
you, Mr.
now,
Nixon Okwara.
Man
God
of the
bless you.
moment, man of the moment, Nixon Okwara. Let's have your concluding thoughts now, please.
That's your
30
own
seconds,
opinion,
please.
though.
I must thank all discussants here today, particularly you, the presenters. You're actually the voice of the people. As a matter of fact, this gives us opportunity to learn from each other, and also for the people to start shaping their mind towards government policies.
Right.
One thing I want to let everybody understand here today is that the man at the helm of affairs, whether we like him or not, you don't need to like your leader, but you just look at the policies and wherever it is. We may not like whatever that is going on. I understand how painful it is, the frustration that is there, but I bet you there's light at the end of the tunnel.
All right then.
The
Thank you very much. That would be a good
Yes,
place to
there's light
anchor
at the
it because we are
That's-
absolutely
that's
out
the
of
light
time.
at the-
Barrister, you have 30 seconds, Barrister. 30 seconds.
You gave them 1 minute.
No, 30 seconds.
No, they gave you 15
Barrister,
minutes
take it.
the other time.
Your time is already
They
running.
gave you 15 minutes. Nobody intervened.
You are taking all the time.
Barrister,
away.
go ahead, please.
Maybe you have aligned with your colleague, no problem.
Yes.
I will
Barrister,
say
yours-
the level
it's a-
of
30 seconds
it's
is
a
reduced.
paper.
PDP. Don't worry.
It's a picture.
50
We are going
seconds
to
now,
balance it
Barrister.
next time. Now, when we are talking of policy that works, Moses, Okoro, and Fina, please, it is policy that benefit the people. Don't do any policy that you will tell me that the result will come in 20 years when I will not be even around.
Okay.
That is no policy.
All right then.
All these things that, wait, I said we did it under Buhari, we didn't see anything.
All right, Barrister,
And
your
what we
time
are
is
saying
up.
now is the same thing. So
Your time
why
is
should
up.
I be patient again?
Thank you very much, Barrister Darlington Agumo. Your time is up. Oh, well, we've been speaking with Barrister Darlington Agumo.
Say his time is up. It's not his time.
And
His time is not
also,
up. It's still
we've
alive.
had Aki Fafatuke, who is a communication consultant and
Thank you so
economist.
much.
Thank you for being on the program.
Always a pleasure.
Prince Nixon Okwara was also with us. Thank you very much for your time. He's MD, Onyx Group, former national chairman, I beg your pardon, national chairman, Igbo stakeholders. Well, thank you very much, Nixon Okwara, for staying with us.
Beautiful,
And from Edo, Alhaji Ahmed Abakari, thank you very much for joining us as well. We'd like for you to stay with us as we get into newspaper review. Well, that's it on the show. We're absolutely out of time. On behalf of my colleagues, Chukuma Okoro, Fina Okechiku, the backroom staff, I am Moses Humphrey. Thank you for staying with us on the program. We do appreciate your messages coming in. Well, join us again at 9 o'clock for newspaper review. See you then.